everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of Valiant Effort. I'm Josh.
And I'm Nick. This episode is called The Wrath of the Eternal Warrior.
Which I bet you're pretty excited about.
I'm super excited about the Eternal Warrior. I've been waiting for 9 episodes. No, I've been waiting for a year and a half or 2 years to read about the Eternal Warrior because my very first exposure to the Eternal Warrior was when I read your timeline for the first time back in 2010, I think it was. Maybe 2011. And that was my first exposure to Valiant. And reading about Gilad and that timeline really made me excited for him. So this was a really anticipated read for me, so I was really excited for it.
Great. So let's have an installment of vague news. Somebody died.
What?
And
Pulse died?
No, this week in the Valiant universe.
Oh.
Somebody died.
Somebody died this week that I'm not caught up with.
It's gonna happen in your future.
Okay.
But somebody died.
I guess it's a big death, judging by your reaction.
Well, actually, I don't know who died yet. But when the episode comes out, the death will have happened. So next edition of Vague News, I will be super sullen about it. Because I know it's one of 5 people.
Okay.
So somebody died. Hey, something cool is going to be happening.
Hartford Comic-Con.
No. Well, Hartford Comic-Con is going to be cool, but there's another convention that I'm going to be going to that I'm very excited about. It's called New York City Special Edition. It's by the people who put together New York Comic-Con. But what they wanted to do is they wanted to create a convention that was only for comic books. So all that entertainment malarkey is not going to be there. You're not going to get to go there and see William Shatner or anything like that. It's just It's a comic book convention at its purest form. And Valiant is going to have a booth. And I wasn't going to go. My wife trying to encourage me to go, probably because I kept mentioning it.
Okay.
But I didn't really want to go because it's on Father's Day. But then Valiant announced on Sunday that they're going to have a panel. And so now I'm going to go.
Oh, okay. So
do you know what a panel is?
Yeah, they just sit at a long table and answer questions.
That's right. Yep.
Much like the Star Trek panel on Family Guy when they're asking them how to clean their dishes.
Right. So we bought our tickets last night.
Does that happen, by the way, at those panels where they just ask them totally random questions that have nothing to do with the show?
That sometimes happens. Why don't you submit some random questions and I'll be sure to ask them at the panel for you. Whatever question you want asked.
That's dangerous. Okay.
Okay. I might ask, hey, why'd you kill that character that died? Very upset about that.
Who, Pulse?
Yeah, Pulse. I am still upset about Pulse. I listened to our last recording, and I was very upset about it.
Yes,
I went a little overboard. So anyway, the June 15th is the day that I'll be going. That's the day of the panel. But the convention is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can only make it on the Sunday. And if you're going, email us, and we can meet up if you like. Gilad, the Eternal Warrior, is after Archer. He blames Archer for the death of the Geomancer. Archer and Armstrong are able to stave off Gilad's attack in Calcutta. The two realize that the only way to stop Gilad is to find the new Geomancer. The Earth chooses Kay McHenry to be the next Geomancer. Kay is the former employee of Elliot Zorn, the leader of the Null, which, believe it or not, is another division of the sect. Then Archer, Armstrong, and Gilad battle several members of the 1%. Elliot Zorn evades capture and escapes to Greenland, where he plans to transmit an equation that will undo existence. Archer, Armstrong, the Eternal Warrior, and the Geomancer arrive in Greenland, and after an epic golf cart chase, they infiltrate Elliot Zorn's compound. But it's too late. Zorn has transmitted the null equation. The last enemy is downloaded into Archer, and he attacks the rest of the group. Kay, after learning the full capabilities of her powers, is able to reverse the null equation. Archer regains control of his body, and the day is saved. On the advice of Gilad, Archer and Armstrong head to Nevada in the hopes of learning who Archer really is. Here's a new Archer and Armstrong book, and this time you're reading it knowing that the book is humorous at times. So how was that for going into reading it?
It was a load off my mind. I felt like I did not have to have this mentality of being like this is going to be dramatic or anything. I could just go in there lighthearted and just have fun reading it, and that's what I did. And it really made reading it a lot easier and more fun. Great. Surprisingly, I wasn't trying to pick it apart as much as I did last one because I didn't know what was going on last time. This time I knew that it was not taking itself seriously, and so I just rode with it. It was great.
This story begins like many Valiant stories begin with a flashback. We get a Gilad in the past, in 210 BC, the Geomancer.
A Chinese guy like Shu Zhu or something.
Anqi Sheng.
That's it.
Yeah, my son could probably pronounce that better than me because
he's taking Chinese.
Because he takes Chinese, but I don't. So, one of the things that I was great about Eternal Warrior stories in the 1990s when Eternal Warrior had his own book is that each issue began with a 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 or 5 page relevant flashback to the rest of the story. And that was kind of neat to see that again. Every book had a little flashback at the beginning. It tied into the overall story as we were going forward, and we kind of got a sense of who Gilad was as a character, and sometimes Armstrong as well, because sometimes Armstrong showed up in the flashbacks.
I'm excited for Gilad's character design. I wasn't really sure what he would look like. When I saw him pictured for the first few panels and I knew it was him, I was happy with his design, unlike, Chris from Harbinger. And but it's totally not what I pictured him as when I read your timeline way back. I pictured him as this big, giant, muscular guy that kind of looks like the Hulk, just not green and he's regular sized. That's what I pictured him as.
Yeah.
And he's totally not like that. He's just like this thin, slender guy with slicked back hair in a ponytail and just looking badass.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good character design of him. Not what I expected. And I really liked it. I really liked his character design.
We've talked a lot about character design the last 2 episodes because we've talked about how there have been different artist interpretations. This is a new artist from the first Archer and Armstrong trade that was drawn by Clayton Henry. This was drawn by Emanuela Lupacchino. But I think there's a great consistency in how the characters looked. I never personally lost track of who anybody was at any time. Did it all make sense to you as you were reading it? You knew who the different characters were going along?
Yes. Yeah. The consistency was a lot better this time, and I knew who everybody was.
Did you notice that there was kind of a similarity to the art from the first volume, even though it was a different artist?
Yeah, because I did notice that Archer was drawn a little bit differently, but he still looked like Archer.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking about why this was kind of an issue for you, because as a comic book fan, I've grown up knowing that different artists draw Bruce Wayne differently, and so it's never really an issue for me. But I was thinking about your influence in art is anime. In anime, just like in cartoons, you have to go off character designs, and all the different artists draw the character the same way no matter what, because you need a consistency in the animation as going forward.
Yeah.
I kind of saw the parallel as to why you prefer a more concise look, and I thought that this book achieved that from the first volume, I thought. And I think we'll see going forward, even though we're going to see a couple different artists on Archer and Armstrong, the consistency of the character design is the most solid in this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just anime. I mean, it's all American cartoons, like The Simpsons or Family Guy, Rugrats, Doug, even all those old cartoons.
Sure.
They're all consistent. The only thing is that from season 1 of any given cartoon to season 12, all the characters' designs change over time, but they still keep that uniformity of what they're supposed to look like, which is a culture shock in the comic world to me.
I've been putting a lot of thought into this concept because it was such a big point of debate in the last episode. If you look at Marvel 1960s, they really seem to be trying to be consistent in their look and not having artists do their own thing. Really, in the late 80s, the 90s, that's when different artist style to me really came to the forefront. I mean, you could look at a comic in the 70s and you could tell who drew it versus another, but it's a lot easier to tell that now.
It's all new to me.
Back to the story, I felt Gilad's motivation for wanting to kill Archer at the beginning of the story seemed a little forced. I don't really blame Archer for the death of the Geomancer as kind of an accident, and Gilad is just not listening to reason at all about it.
Yeah, well, I kind of chalked it up to the fact that he's been doing this for eons, however long an eon may be. I just kind of figured it's kind of an automatic thing, and he's just on autopilot at this point. So he's just he knows that he's got to go after the person that killed the Geomancer, and if he can't kill the person who killed the Geomancer, then he's just going to go after the next best thing.
I really felt that the first book was just there wasn't very much story in it. It was just action. Here's Gilad, he's after these two guys, and let's have fun with that, including the hilarious rickshaw chase.
Oh, that was so funny. When Armstrong is yelling at the guy to like hurry up, he's gaining on us, and then there's that shot of Gilad in the bus chasing them. That was hilarious.
My favorite line in the first issue is after they've escaped Gilad and they're on this boat and they're sailing across the ocean. Armstrong is really appreciative of how the nice compliments that Archer gave him, and he says, "You mean that, kid? I'm the best and most noble dude you ever met." And Archer goes, "I haven't met very many people, sir."
Yeah, and he's like, "I'll still take it."
Yeah. I really think that their friendship is growing, and it's growing naturally.
Yeah,
and I totally believe them and the relationship that they're forming.
There's a point somewhere in this first book where someone says something with the word "sot" in it.
Yeah.
What is a sot? A sot is a very common word in my line of work, but I know it doesn't mean the same thing.
What is a sot in your line of work?
A sot in my line of work is short for sound over tape, which basically means an interview.
A sot is a habitual drunkard.
Oh, that totally makes sense. And in the very same panel, I think it's the same panel, the onomatopoeia "aye" is back. I like that one.
That's a common sound effect in
I
comics.
like it. Aye! I still am not sure what the purpose of a Geomancer is. They haven't really explained what it is yet at this point. I mean, why is Gilad the protector of the Geomancer? Was Armstrong also a protector, but after he failed in that Chinese war, did he quit? Or what, was he just distraught over the fact that he failed when that Geomancer was killed and he turned to drinking and fun and all that stuff?
I have to tell you that issue number 6, which is the second issue in this book, was one of my most anticipated issues, because I knew that was the issue where they were going to introduce the new Geomancer. I really like the Geomancer. Maybe from a spiritual perspective, I like it, because what's cool about the Geomancer is that the Geomancer is connected to the earth. He or she is the voice for the earth when things are going wrong. They speak for the earth, and sometimes they protect the earth. The Geomancer is sort of different in this volume. In the original Valiant universe, the Geomancer was Jeff McHenry, and he was a young boy. He was like 12 or 13 years old. He was kind of whiny little brat. Then he disappeared, and Clay McHenry became the Geomancer, and he was interesting. He had a 8-issue series. He was blind. That was kind of a neat thing to explore, how the Geomancer talks to the earth by being blind. I like this version of the Geomancer a lot more. First of all, Valiant, in the original Valiant universe, didn't have a lot of strong female characters, so it's nice to introduce the Geomancer as a strong female character. I also like the concept that the speaker of the earth is somebody who used to speak against the earth in her original line of work. There's like 4 or 5 pages where you're kind of introduced to her, and Fred Van Lente, who's the writer of this story, does a great job shaping the character in such limited pages to make me interested in who she is. And what do you think of the Geomancer?
Basically everything you just said about Kay, that she was against the Earth, even though it almost seemed like she was just working for this corporation that was against the Earth, and she didn't really believe what she was saying, as is kind of evidenced in that fake debate that she had with that guy that she was sleeping with. But I actually like her character. She's I actually thought that Zorn might have been the next Geomancer because of that tattoo on the neck. I'm happy that she is because she's much nicer to look at rather than Zorn. Even though she's a drawing, I do know that.
Zorn is a character that they brought over from the original Valiant universe.
Yeah.
Zorn wanted to be a Geomancer in the original Valiant universe, and he tried to con Gilad into giving him the powers of that. But so that was kind of neat that he was the villain.
Was he different in the original universe?
No, they're pretty similar characters.
Okay.
Way too rich, evil-eyed.
Okay. Cackly.
Yeah.
I think on the last page of this first book, Armstrong said to Archer that they need to find the new Geomancer so that they could turn off the psycho mode off Gilad. Does that mean that once they find the Geomancer, that means that Gilad can focus on protecting the Geomancer rather than having to kill Archer?
Yeah.
So why does he have to go and find the person who killed the Geomancer if there's already been a reincarnation almost immediately?
I think that Gilad has two duties. One, his primary duty is to protect the Geomancer. But when there is no Geomancer, I think it's his job to help find that person and to make sure that when that person is given their power set, that they do not use it in a negative way. If Gilad doesn't find the new Geomancer, the person who becomes the Geomancer could use the power to harm the Earth.
So is there kind of like a police officer for the...
I also think that the Earth is kind of naggy. I think the reason that he's in psycho mode is probably because the Earth's like, hey, have you found the Geomancer yet? Are you looking for the Geomancer? Why haven't you found the Geomancer? Can you find the Geomancer? I think the Geomancer's got to be found. We need to have a Geomancer. So if you hear that in your head, you're like, I gotta find a Geomancer.
Okay.
Do we want to get into global warming?
Yeah, we can do that.
This book definitely takes a stance on a issue that I'm not sure can have a stance, but
it still has one anyway.
It does. I liked seeing the argument because that is the forum in which we see the argument for global warming versus not global warming. You know, we see it on television with one opposed and one against. I liked how the villains, the 1%, who you would think would be against global warming because it would hurt their profits, they're like, oh, of course global warming is real at one point. I hesitate to get into issues that are political because, you know, this is a comic book and comic books are just kind of fun and they shouldn't be. But Fred Van Lente definitely has an opinion on the issue, and I agree with his opinion.
Then I took away the wrong message from that.
I see. How did you think that this story was the other side? Because the 3% of scientists side versus the 97% of scientists side.
I guess it's because the fact that this book does not, or this series does not take itself seriously. So it seemed to be kind of, but at the same time, it has its own ideals written, or the writer's ideals written in between the lines, so to speak. And I think we saw his stance on on religion in the first book. It almost sounded like the way that the global warming debate was going during the TV show, the argument for it seemed more comical than the one against it.
I see.
However, that is not to mean that I do not believe in global warming, because I do think that climate change is amongst us right now, as is evidenced by this last winter and last summer. I didn't really think about the author's stance at that point. I thought it was just kind of going in the way that, we're just going to write write it this way, that global warming doesn't really exist, and we're going to show that it does. Okay, so I'm totally being wishy-washy right now, but I wasn't really sure what to take away from it, other than the fact that it was in there just to kind of create some debate. That's what I'm going to go with.
It says at one point in this book that it's been a week since the issue 4. I really feel like that's quick. I feel like it's got to have been longer than that. You know, they're traveling across the planet, and Gilad's chasing them, and a week? I don't know.
I didn't even pick up on that.
The scene where Aram is mocking his brother is one of my favorite scenes in the story.
When he's rolling his eyes back and he's got his hands like, "Oh, I'm Gilad."
Yeah, absolutely. Because Gilad and Aram are great. I mean, Aram is so relaxed. They're both immortals, and they both come at it from different ways. Aram's lived so long that he's like, I just don't care anymore. And Gilad's lived so long, and his view of it is that he's so serious and's got a stick up his ass, and he just doesn't know how to relax. So it's really neat to see how different the two of them are.
I was a little nervous, actually, about Gilad's character when reading this, because I didn't want to not like him.
Yeah, I know you want to like him. Yeah.
I really want to like him. So when they're kind of making him out to be a kind of bad guy in this, I'm thinking, all right, I'll deal with it for now. He's still cool. I just hope I still have this feeling that I'm gonna like the guy by the end of the book.
You want to know the instant that I like Gilad? Because I agree with you in this incarnation. He's kind of grumpy. The moment I liked him, when he drove the car from one skyscraper to the other, and then whipped up with guns blazing. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's the guy I want to watch.
That was a key moment for me as well. All right, so I'm going to go back to the scene with Blackbeard, where Gilad is fighting Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Gilad kills Blackbeard.
Yeah.
And
that's the date that Blackbeard really died in history.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah.
He has that tattoo on his neck of the bird.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of a bird that is. And I also noticed that on the other guy, like Shu Fu's neck.
Zufu, yeah.
In the Chinese War.
Yeah.
And they both had the same thing right before they died, too, which is nothing is forever. So that's actually why I thought Zorn was the next Geomancers, because I wasn't...
But Zorn is not... He doesn't have the tattoo.
Right. Well, they didn't show it, where I couldn't see it at that point.
Yeah.
And so...
I think Zufu and Blackbeard are the last enemy.
Oh, okay.
So I think the last enemy got into them, and they got the tattoo.
Oh, okay.
So they're the last enemy, because in the original Valiant universe, the Eternal Warrior had the immortal enemy, who was always his villain throughout time. They changed the name to the last enemy in this, but it's the same kind of thing. The last enemy is not an immortal in the sense that he has the same body, but he's an immortal in the sense that his mind carries on.
My next question is, during the introduction scene of K, there's a weird text bubble. I don't know, it's saying help me. Was that the plant talking?
Yes.
How did I know that?
Because it's next to the plant.
Oh.
And
it was just,
and because later on we realize, again, she hears the voice, she comes, she kills the plant, that text stops. So
right.
I've never seen a word bubble like that before, word balloon like that before. That was a new look. They just wanted to
just a way to differentiate.
Yeah, it's a way that we learn that she's starting to be able to communicate.
I also noticed somewhere in a word balloon, I can't find which page it is. It's when the plant is talking to her at some point. I see a number 33 in the text bubble along with whatever she's saying or the plant is saying. Is that a typo?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that happened.
I wonder what the 33 is.
It's in the comic, too. So it's not something that
Interesting.
they corrected for the. Yep.
Is that maybe like panel 33? Page 33? I wonder what the 33 means.
I don't know. If you know what the number 33 represents in this volume, we have nothing to give you. But please tell us.
Except the self-gratification that you know and we do not. Gilad is still chasing Archer and Armstrong at this point, and it seems that Armstrong is genuinely worried that Gilad is going to kill Armstrong.
It seems that Armstrong is worried that Gilad is going to kill Armstrong.
Armstrong is worried that Gilad will kill him.
Oh, okay.
So, in that sense, Armstrong is not 100% immortal. If he has a genuine fear that he can die from Gilad, then there's got to be a way that he can die. And I do remember saying something in the last episode of Archer and Armstrong where when the Boon killed pretty much the entire population of the planet, they intercepted every single life on the planet, so they kind of do have a finite amount of lives within them. But it seems like there might be another way. If Armstrong really does think that there's a way for Gilad to figure out a way to kill him.
I really look forward to being able to talk to you about this subject.
Vague news.
Vague news.
Strikes again.
Vague news. The fourth arc of Archer and Armstrong. So, the third issue in this book begins with the Archimedes flashback. I thought it was a really cool flashback because we got to see some of the Archimedes inventions of legend. The heat ray and the claw.
Yeah.
Those were really neat to see. Mythbusters did
the sun ray.
They did an episode on the heat ray thing, and they concluded that you can't catch a sail on fire, but it would still hurt people's eyes when you would
Yes.
blind them. So,
I remember watching that episode.
yeah. And we also get another flashback later in this issue with from 1954 of Turing.
Yes, Alan Turing.
And he's a really awesome guy.
Yes.
He was a code buster for the British in World War II. He figured out a lot of German codes.
Yep.
And the circumstances of his death and the last year of his life are very sad.
Yeah, and I'm very excited that Alan Turing has made its way into Valiant Comics because actually a famous name that actually has contributed something to society in a good way. It's a nice change from the pace of all the celebrities that we've been hearing about up until now. Justin Bieber, the Kardashians, Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Now we have Alan Turing, someone who broke the Enigma code.
Yeah. It's
a refreshing feeling to see a name that had something good to contribute.
I thought it was cool that we got a lot of famous mathematicians during the story. Mathematicians through history.
So there was a riddle in this book. I think it was book 3, issue 23, whatever. I don't know what number we're on.
It's the 7th issue.
Okay, so I'll divide it by 3 minus 2. There was a riddle in here, and everyone was trying to answer it. And I really, really liked Kay's answer to the riddle, which was 42.
Yeah.
And if you recall, last week I unknowingly foretold the same answer when I was asking you a question, and you just automatically said the answer was yes before I even asked it. And then we were joking, and then I kind of joked that another one of your answers would be 42. So do I have precog powers?
Yes.
I thought so.
Or you like the same books that Fred Van Lente likes. My favorite part in that scene is when she looks at Archer and he's infinities.
Yeah, everything is infinities.
So what does that mean? What
I don't know.
What is Archer's power set?
Infinity, they were saying beforehand that the null is trying to get everything to 0, and infinity is kind of the opposite of that. Yeah. So it's just the way that I took that is that he is the chosen one to fight the null. I don't know if that's really true, but that's the way I'm looking at it. And his codename is Rising Spirit. Project Rising Spirit?
What?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
What is that a
I
thing?
have no idea what that means.
Have we been talking about Rising Spirit in another book?
No, I don't think we have. Not at all. So I'm really intrigued as to what this means. What do they have in plan?
What is in store for Archer?
I don't know.
The possibilities are infinite.
But this one this one little scene opens up a whole bunch of doors.
Oh, this is a big scene. This is the biggest scene in the book. It may not seem like it, but it is huge. It's like
It felt like a big scene to me. I mean, she just revealed to him a huge understanding of who he is. I mean, there's still a lot of questions, but that's a giant piece puzzle right there that he can go off of and figure stuff out. And wherever they're going to go with it, a lot of possibilities. As you said, it's infinite. And in the same scene, this is where we find out that the Null was trying to break the code of the universe.
Talk to me about this, because I didn't get it. I didn't understand. To me, it's like, how can an equation unravel existence? And how do you transmit an equation? I was totally out of my my element on this particular thing.
Well, this was a very interesting scene for me because this is kind of in my realm of what I do in my free time, is kind of read up on this stuff. I mean, I'm no physicist by any means, so I'm not professional in how I talk about this stuff or even understand it, but I do have a small understanding of it. I do know that scientists are actually trying to break the code of the universe, so to speak, right now. They call it M theory.
How can you do that?
Well, they say that math is the language of the universe. You can figure out gravity with math. You can figure out the speed of light with math. You can figure out pretty much anything with math. Whenever I think about it, I just wonder about how many different types of math genres, I guess, for lack of a better word, we have not yet discovered. Like, there's calculus, there's algebra, there's trigonometry, there's geometry. What other kinds have not been discovered yet that can explain all these things that we don't know about, like what happens in the middle of a black hole, what happened before the Big Bang? It's just very interesting. So this is what scientists are trying to figure out. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there's a thing called M theory, which is the theory of everything. And this is kind of the real world equivalent as to breaking the code of the universe. With M theory, scientists are trying to find that one piece of the puzzle that will tie in most, if not all, laws of nature, from what I understand. Like, for instance, the laws of science are very big, like planets, galaxies, the universe, do not apply when it comes to the science that's very small, like atoms and dark matter, and especially string theory. M theory is really tied into string theory, which is something I don't understand very well. But M theory seeks to combine both the big and the small, because both do not translate together right now. And if you can find that one puzzle piece that can explain how everything works together, then that's the holy grail right now. That's one of the many holy grails that science has right now.
So is the null equation something that could be real?
It seems that the null equation is the comics way of finding M theory.
Because I viewed it as a MacGuffin.
I don't know. Oh, like something totally fake?
Yeah, well, a MacGuffin in a literary sense is something that you have to help the plot move along.
Yeah.
And because it's just over my head. And my grandfather would probably be very upset that I don't understand the math. My grandfather was a mathematician. You can look him up on Wikipedia. He would be very disappointed in me.
Whatever they found in Archer and Armstrong is, in my view, kind of the fictional M theory that has found the theory of everything, and therefore, once they have found that, then they can return to nothingness. It's just too bad that that null theory brings everything back into this singularity, or just return the universe into an infinitesimal small speck of nothingness.
I see. Wouldn't it be really hard to come up with that equation?
Yeah, that's why they haven't figured it out yet.
Aren't we too small? And I mean that in a brain sense. Aren't we too small to come up with that? Why, we know that there are other alien races in the Valiant universe. Why would Earth have figured that out?
We have come very, very far in the last 100 years in terms of science.
Yeah.
And we still have a long way to go. So, in my own view, I don't think we're going to find a theory of everything for a long time to come.
Sure, yeah.
I really don't. But we're not going to get there without trying.
So the null equation is not ridiculous to you?
No.
Because to me it was. So I'm glad that you got that out of it. And I'm kind of glad we had this conversation because it gives me a little bit of a deeper appreciation of what's happening. And Fred Van Lente is a very smart and capable writer. And I know that when he's writing stuff, it's based in reality. But I wasn't sure how much.
Yeah, the null equation totally makes sense to me because so many scientists are trying to figure this out. Stephen Hawking, I'm sure Neil deGrasse Tyson, or even Michio Kaku are trying to figure all this stuff. Michio Kaku definitely, because he's working on string theory, which string theory is M theory. String theory is a crazy theory. I don't understand it at all, but it has something to do with 11 dimensions. I don't understand. I can't even fathom a fourth dimension. I don't understand how we can get to 11. But there are a theoretical 11 dimensions out there.
So math had a very strong presence throughout this story, not only with the null equation, but also with the last enemy. The last enemy is essentially an algorithm that got downloaded into Archer's brain.
Yeah.
And it took him over.
Yes.
And the way that it had done it in the past is that people would see an equation on a wall and the algorithm would assert itself in that person's brain. In this case with Archer, it was kind of downloaded through a laser beam.
Yeah.
That also was above my head. Sorry, Grandpa.
Lots of information is sent through such small fibers, these fiber optics.
Absolutely, yeah.
An incredible amount of information is passed through something as thin as a human hair.
Yeah. So did you like the concept of a sentient algorithm?
Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
I thought that was kind of a neat idea too. Yep.
And the math that we kept seeing through time as Archimedes and the Middle Eastern guy and whoever else all figured out chunks of this null theory. They were all, kind of broken down and pieces of the puzzle, and they were all put together in this one giant room. That's what I'm talking about with the real theory of everything, is that we have to work at it in order to get there, which, in my opinion, we're not going to get for a very, very, very long time. But gotta start somewhere.
Especially, it's hard to get there when the Earth rewrites the code.
Yes.
Which is certainly jumping ahead, but that is the way. That is how this threat is ended. Is the Earth just says, I'm just gonna change it.
Plus a neat little defense system.
Sure, absolutely.
Good thing Kate figured that out in the nick of time. Also, there was another mathematic thing in here that was interesting to me, which was Zornium, which had an atomic weight of 0, which is impossible in real life. But at the same time, it makes sense for this storyline. The atomic number really means how many protons and electrons are in a given atom. So since hydrogen is number 1, that means it has 1 proton and 1 electron in its nucleus. If something is 0, it can't exist.
Is it a void?
It doesn't exist. It's like there's no such thing. But that makes sense. But here's where it gets trippy for me. But does it make sense? I'm trying to wrap this around my mind, or just try to think this for a minute. If nothing is something, then there is never really nothing. There is no such thing as nothingness. if nothing is something. So is the Null's millennial long fight for nothing? Or is it for something? It's something that I was just starting to really trip myself around when I was reading this. But the fact that they got this atomic number 0, which is, in my own view, it's a singularity, which is kind of like in that Star Trek movie, the new one.
The
one with the red stuff.
Yeah, the red matter.
Yeah, that's a singularity, and it just shot it into a planet, and it just imploded in on itself, made a black hole. That's what I envision Zornium to be. Not the red matter, but the fact that it's a singularity and makes a black hole.
I see.
Because that...
So how could you find that in Greenland?
There's golf courses over there.
Okay, so if we've bored you all to death with the last 20 minutes of our conversation, let's get back to two very important things. There is a golf cart chase, and there is Gilad dressed as a hippie.
Gilad dressed as a hippie is like the greatest thing in this entire trade. That was a great little panel. I loved it.
And then he's attacked by, like, Jaunty's cousin. This
what was
monkey.
I know. She just, like, thwacks a monkey at him, and it's like, eek, 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 clawing his eyes out. It was funny.
And the golf cart chase is also great. So we had a rickshaw chase. We have a golf cart chase.
Yep.
Fred Van Lente is, he comes up with several hilarious vehicles to make fun of car chase scenes. We'll see more later with him doing that kind of stuff.
Is this his main storyline? Does he do other stories?
Fred Van Lente?
Yeah.
Yeah, he writes a lot of stuff. He writes Magnus Robot Fighter right now for Dynamite. He writes Brain Boy, which is a cool series for Dark Horse. He's written for Marvel in the past. He did a long run on Hulk and the Incredible Hercules.
Okay.
Which was which is really good. He's a prolific writer right now. He's got tons of stuff coming out.
Does he do anything else in Valiant Universe?
He does not.
Okay.
I would like it if he did, because he's a fantastic writer.
Well, I think this is a great story, so I think he's a great writer. This is where my notes end, because I became so engrossed in the story that I just kind of stopped taking notes. So, I mean, I really enjoyed the story. I just didn't take down any more notes, but I have lots of other things I could talk about.
Let's talk about Mary Maria.
Yeah, where did she... All of a sudden, she pops out of nowhere.
And what's going on in her brain?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in her brain, but she's possessed by something. Her eyes are white.
Who were those people she's possessed by?
I don't know.
They tell you who they are. It's her parents.
Oh, her parents, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
so her parents are in her brain.
Yeah.
Weird.
And her parents are going to brainwash her some more and make her go after Archer and Armstrong, which is disappointing because Archer really likes her, especially since he's having that conversation with himself that he's like, oh, she's not really my sister, right? So that's okay, right? So he's got to be really bummed out when she comes to try to kill them.
Yeah, he's in love. Did you like the representation of Earth? Did you like how the Earth presented herself differently to Kay and Gilad? So Kay sees the Earth as this ape woman, and Gilad sees the Earth as this gorgeous goddess.
Yeah.
And it really goes to like how the Earth is trying to motivate each of these different people. You know, it's a lot easier to defend the Earth when she's hot. I also liked when the last enemy had possessed Archer and he was fighting Gilad, and Gilad said, Archer admitted that he couldn't defeat me, and Archer says, Archer as the last enemy says, he was being polite.
Yeah.
So I really took that as meaning Archer can kick your ass.
Yeah.
Because he's made of infinities, whatever that means. Archer is more powerful than he realizes.
Well, right. I mean, when the Green Dragon Llamas were telling him that he didn't realize his own potential yet, even Archer probably doesn't really know that he can beat Gilad. And but now that the last enemy has taken him over, the last enemy can totally just use him to his full potential. Even using, I like the fighting style of Gilad over 1,000 years. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just totally use Gilad's fighting style against him, and it's I'm glad that the last enemy was not in Archer the whole time, because I didn't want Archer to die. I didn't really expect him to die, because he's like, it's Archer and Armstrong. You can't really kill off one of the main characters that's in the title. But it was a little hair raising.
You can kill off a main character. Vague news.
Is it? is this the death that you're talking about earlier?
Yes.
Well, not this early anyway. In a comic.
I see. Okay.
I mean, I know Superman died.
Yeah, but he came back to
I'm
life.
sure he came back to life, and so is Batman, and so is Hulk, and whoever else has died in
the Valiant universe. Dead is dead, unless you're in Dead Side. But dead is dead. That's,
okay.
Pulse ain't coming back.
There's an exception. Flashbacks.
Aha! Flashbacks can happen. Hey, I had some Easter eggs this week.
Good. I don't have any.
I
never have any.
Issue number 8, the cover of issue number 8 was kind of neat because it had the scrolling stock exchange information.
Yeah.
And you can read it, and there's some really cool things to read there. Valiant is one of the things that's
I was
there.
reading that.
Issue 8 also mentions the Retrologists, which it may or may not be another division of the sect. The Retrologists are going to they're what's happening in the current arc of Archer and Armstrong right now. So that was kind of neat that there was this kind of throwaway line that he had, but he's going to come back to it. He also talks about the hashish eaters, which is what the word assassin means. And the hashish eaters will also show up later in the series too. I like how he has these little throwaway moments where it's just a line and he's setting up something that he's going to do later.
Where it seems just so insignificant, but it actually means something more.
It does, and only now I've read this particular book. This is my 4th time reading it, and only on this last read did I pick up the word Retrologist, because that's what's happening right now in Archer and Armstrong. I always wonder how far ahead the writer is. How far do they plan their stories?
I was thinking the same thing
today. Is he 12 issues ahead? Is he 24 issues ahead?
Or do they just kind of just write it out and just say, I'll figure it out later?
And things change as they go, but I mean, he had to know that this was an idea that he wanted to do, so he got you there. So in terms of Easter eggs, though, the real stuff is that this book is presented with real history. The date that we see with the battle between Gilad and Captain Blackbeard, that's the date that Blackbeard died. The date that we see with Turing, that's the date that Alan Turing died. Emperor Qin, in the first flashback, Emperor Qin is the real emperor at the time in China. That's the year that he died. Anqi Shang, who is the Geomancer, is a real person, or sort of based on a real person. And that person's really cool. Put him in a search engine and read the Wikipedia entry on him. But he was a legendary Chinese immortal, and he was said to have lived for 1,000 years. And I think that's really cool. Zhu Fu is also a real person in history. You don't like my pronunciation of his name?
No, it's like I kept messing up his name, so now I feel
I don't know the real
guilty.
Pronunciation. So
no, I kept things like Zhu Shu and Zhu Kang and whatever.
Zhu Fu was sent by Emperor Qin to find the elixir of life, and the year that he disappeared off the face of the planet is this year. So there's some really cool history. I'm going to butcher this name, Shehrazadi, who was named as a geomancer. That is the woman from, she's a literary character. She's from 1001 Nights, the Arabic story. Basically the story is this one, this king, he was cheated on by his wife, so he killed her, and every night for 1,000 nights, he wedded a virgin, and in the morning killed the virgin after he was done with her. And until he met this woman, I'm not going to butcher her name again, until he met her. And basically, she told him a story, and she said to be continued. And she did that for 1,001 nights till he fell in love with her. And I like that she was a geomancer. I thought that was really neat. So the real Easter eggs are the history. You can tell that Fred Van Lente has read a lot of books and is well versed in the stuff that he's writing about. The man must love doing research. And it's really neat as a reader to read something and then go, what happens if I put this name in a search engine and you're produced with facts and you get to learn about who Alan Turing is. I mean, what a great guy. It's terrible how the last year of his life was.
Yeah. I mean, the whole fact that it was illegal to be gay back in the day, that's exactly how he died. There were allegations that he was gay, and
I think there were more than that.
Well, there was more than that, but it was.
And so they injected him with hormones to try to change him, and he killed himself.
Yeah,
because he didn't want to live anymore. And why would you do that to such a brilliant mind?
Because it was illegal.
Because I mean, the man is a genius. Why would you ruin that? Judgy part of the show. Covers.
Yes, I was just looking at the covers because I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. There are 2 covers.
The regular cover to issue number 6. Do you recognize this image? Do you remember this image from a birthday party of mine? When I turned 30, my wife threw a surprise birthday party. I entered my house and everybody was dressed up as a superhero. It was a costume party.
I remember that day. And what did I dress as? I don't think I dressed as anything.
Yeah, that's because you...
Because I'm not a comic book reader.
You don't believe in cosplay. She handed me some boots and this thing to put on and a jacket with batteries all along my arm.
Oh, I remember that thing now, yeah.
And my coworker Thayer, who had been growing a goatee for a month
God.
Pretending that he was growing a goatee for another reason, they had set up this photo op, and my wife dressed up as Kay. And so we have a picture of us doing the cover to issue number 6.
Wow.
So that's a pretty cool cover for me.
I remember you wearing that jacket, and I kind of remember Thayer dressed like that. I don't remember what your wife looked like.
It was nice.
But I would like to see that picture again to have a fresher look at it.
My Twitter and I'm terrible. I said I would try to remember to put something on our website. I'll try to find that picture and put it on our website. So, what is your favorite?
Actually, this was one of my favorites, but
yeah,
I was looking through them. I like this one where Armstrong has just got his shirt off. Actually, it looks like he's naked.
So you're looking at
he's just partying.
The 1 in 20 variant to issue number 8 by Tom Fowler.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. It's just the nice happy-go-lucky attitude of Armstrong, and Archer's just kind of frustrated at the fact, and Armstrong is surrounded by women, and I like it because it's he's just having fun.
This is your favorite cover?
I think so. I'm gonna go for that one.
So this cover was in an ad first, advertising the series, and my wife Karen saw it, and it was the first time she wanted a variant cover.
Oh,
because she thought that cover was so funny. And I happened to be in a shop and I saw it, and it was a great price. It was less than $10, and I bought it. And that's my favorite cover.
Almost a hat trick.
Yeah, almost a hat trick. Yeah. No, it's hilarious. Tom Fowler is a terrific artist. We're going to see his work coming up. He's going to actually be penciling a series coming up. And this cover is just hilarious. It's so funny. The Archer's head's in the right spot, but Armstrong is the looks on both their faces. I'm sure when Fowler pitched this cover to Valiant that this is what he wanted to draw, they must have been laughing like crazy. It's hilarious. It's a great cover. What did you think of the book?
I enjoyed it, as per usual. I was really nervous about Gilad in that I built him up so much over the years that I would not enjoy him as a character, and
Expectations met.
my expectations were met.
Did
thankfully.
Did you like all the historical stuff? You got to see him through history.
Yeah, that was neat too because as that was happening, I was reminded of your timeline and it actually when I read your timeline 2 years ago, I had the sense that he could actually time travel in rather than just experiencing everything through time linearly. So
That's the other brother.
no, I'm talking about Gilad. I know
Okay.
the other brother can do that, but
Yeah,
I had the sense that Gilad could also time travel.
I see.
From place to place to place to place to place. It didn't matter where. And this story actually brought that down and made me realize it's just all the flashbacks are just him experiencing everything linearly, as I mentioned. It's and watching Gilad and Armstrong team back up again as brothers, and they kind of go from Gilad kind of goes from hating his brother to respecting him or
Grudgingly respecting. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great, and and Armstrong is just happy that he's with his brother again. They're giving themselves noogies at the end.
I kind of feel like at the end of the story when they part ways, Gilad kind of chuckles to himself and goes, "That's why I love my brother." You know?
Yeah.
He would never show that to Armstrong. I don't know if the artist did it on purpose, but I see a little glint of humor in his eyes at the end of the story as they're talking with each other. I too like this story, of course. Archer Armstrong is a great book, and it's a lot of fun to read. I especially like that we got 5 issues in this volume. It's always nice to have a little bit of a meatier read. I read this in one sitting, and that's always a good test to how good a story is. If I can read it in one sitting, because I'll be honest, I work a lot, and I have 2 kids, and I fall asleep when I read a lot. So when I don't fall asleep and read, thumbs up on that. So it's good. I really enjoyed it. We've now kind of finished the second phase of books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I kind of want to get
fast.
your rankings on where we are. So the 5 books, we're at 5 books now. We have Exo Man of War, Harbinger, Bloodshot, Archer and Armstrong, and Shadow Man. How are you feeling about these particular stories?
Okay, well, I wrote them down here so I could look at them kind of visually. Harbinger is definitely number 1. I'm gonna go actually with Archer and Armstrong with number 2 because I really like this book.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about that earlier today. I didn't realize that we were actually at the end of this next cycle, but I was thinking about it as soon as I finished it. I'm like, man, I really like this story. This is a really enjoyable story for me. So I'm gonna push Archer and Armstrong to number 2. Bloodshot goes to number 3. Exo 4, and Shadow Man is last for me.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Ours is gonna be pretty similar. Well, I'm gonna go Archer Armstrong 1, Harbinger 2, Exo 3, Bloodshot 4, Shadow Man 5. So they're not similar at all, except the last one.
Well, it's everything is pretty much in the same place. I mean, almost. I mean, whether just 1 or 2 places off for each of us. I like 3 types of genres. I like drama, I like action, and I like slapstick comedy. And that's my top 3. I have the drama is the Harbinger. I really like drama stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really drawn to that. Slapstick is Archer and Armstrong, and the action is Bloodshot. So that fits with my character.
Sure.
The Exo Man of War is just a generic type of hero story to me still. So that's why it's number 4. Still enjoyable for me. It's good. And Shadow Man, I still don't understand. I don't understand what Jaunty is. What is Jaunty? He's a monkey. He's a talking monkey in the dead world. What is he? I don't understand. And what is Dark? Dark, what? Why do you need to go to the world, the living world? I don't understand. I don't understand anything in that book yet, which is why it's number 5.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I have a quick further reading in this. I'm not going to suggest another comic book. I'm going to suggest an actual book. There's this terrific book by Charles Seif called Zero, The Biography of a Dangerous Idea. And it's It's a story about the origin of the concept of the number 0. I know Fred Van Lente at one point, and I've been searching for it, and I can't find it. He at one point put on his website the books that influenced his stories, and this was one of the books that influenced it. And he put that up before I read this arc. So as I was reading this arc, I go, oh, okay. So he must have really enjoyed this book. It's good. It's really neat. You should read it. There's a lot of interesting history about 0, about how some cultures like the Hindus worshipped it and other cultures banned it.
Just try to place myself back in the days, like 900 AD, whenever it was first proposed. Just the concept of 0 is just got to be so earth-shattering to the people. It's like the fact that nothing is something is just mind-blowing.
I one of the things that I like about that book is that here you have a book about a concept that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And, what is the something that is new to us that somebody's going to write a book about in 500 years that they take for granted? What's that book going to be? That's my further reading. Are you ready to see what the next book is going to be?
Sure.
What do you think it is?
Lay it on me. Shadow Man.
It's not Shadow Man.
All right. Rye.
No, we're not anywhere close to Rye, so
Oh.
don't get too excited about Rye.
Exo.
Exo, yeah, because it's a new wave of books. So, Exo Man of War, volume number 3, Planet Death.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
What do you think?
What is this thing behind him?
That's a vine.
That looks like a rock monster.
So this is this cover is drawn by Clayton Crane, and we haven't really seen artwork like this.
He kind of looks like a transformer.
He does. Clayton Crane does all his artwork in Photoshop. He draws the picture, an outline of the picture, and scans it in, and then he does all of the work himself. I have this particular cover hanging on my wall. I like it.
You like it because of the energy sword.
Yes, I like it because of the energy sword. True. That is very true.
It is an energy sword, right? Because I keep saying the wrong thing for you.
No, yeah, that's fine.
I think I called it a lightning sword at first. And you were like, it's an energy sword.
No, it's a lightning sword. Whatever you want to call it.
Planet's death. Oh, that sucks. I wouldn't want to live there.
So you can follow us on Twitter at VE Podcast. You can go to our website, vepodcast.wordpress.com.
His headset's got a light on it.
It does, so he can see in the dark.
Yes.
Or in the darkness of space.
Or he could see dark in the dark.
Yeah, the
Dark-A.
I would not worry about dark being in this. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher or Podkicker. Podkicker is a really cool app that I use.
He's got a Triforce on his plate.
Yeah. Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. He's had that little symbol on his chest this whole time.
It's the first time I noticed it. Is Zelda nearby somewhere?
Okay, Zelda is very important to the Valiant universe. When Valiant first started as a company, they didn't produce their own books. They had licensed properties, and they made Nintendo comics. And they made 6 or 7 issues of Zelda. And they're okay. They're not
Maybe
that great.
that's a little Easter egg.
The little Easter egg, yeah. So, thank you very much for listening, guys. Planet Death is episode 10. We have reached the 10th episode. So that makes us legitimate, I think.
I think so.
When you're double digits. All right, bye. Hi, everybody. I jumped.
You do that all the time.
I know. Well, I'm excited. Hi, everybody.
I jumped with Josh.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of...
What is this? The Rise and the Fall?
No.
No. What is this?
Wrath of the Eternal.
Wrath of the Eternal. Okay, that's right.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode... No, that's not how I want to do it, asshole. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Valiant Effort. This is episode 9.
I'm Nick.
Oh, my God, my name. How do I do it?
Take 23.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of Valiant Effort. I'm Josh.
And I'm Nick. This episode is called The Wrath of the Eternal Warrior.